Welcome, dear friend, to this quiet moment at the end of your day. Let yourself settle into comfort wherever you may be. Feel your shoulders soften, your breath naturally deepening. Tonight, we journey together to a place of gentle rain and endless lavender fields, where time moves like honey and peace flows like a slow river. Take a deep breath with me now and let it go slowly. 10. Feeling your body sink a little deeper into rest. 9. Releasing any thoughts that no longer serve you tonight. 8. Allowing your mind to drift toward tranquility. 7. Feeling the weight of the day lifting gently from your shoulders. 6. Breathing in calm, breathing out tension. 5. Your eyelids growing soft and heavy. 4. Muscles relaxing from your feet to your head. 3. Heart rate slowing to a peaceful rhythm. 2. Mind becoming clear and still like a mountain lake. 1. And now, let us begin our gentle journey. In the heart of Provence, where time seems to have forgotten its hurry, there sits a small stone cottage painted soft cream by decades of Mediterranean sun. The walls are thick and welcoming, built from stones that have held countless seasons, countless storms, countless moments of perfect stillness. This evening, as gentle rain begins to tap against the terracotta roof tiles, the cottage seems to breathe with quiet contentment. Claire Martin has lived here for 3 months now, having traded the bustling streets of Bristol for this haven of lavender and limestone. Tonight, she sits by the window in her favorite chair, a worn leather armchair that cradles her like an old friend's embrace. The chair is positioned perfectly to overlook the endless purple fields that stretch toward the distant hills, now veiled in soft gray mist as the evening rain begins its gentle dance. The first drops arrived just as twilight was painting the sky in watercolors of rose and pearl and stalk. Claire had been sketching the way evening light caught the lavender stalks, how they seemed to glow from within with their own inner luminescence. But as the rain began, she set aside her pencils and simply watched, feeling something inside her chest slowly unknot with each gentle patter against the glass. The cottage is small, just 3 rooms that flow into each other like verses of a quiet poem. The kitchen, with its blue-painted cabinets and copper pots hanging from wrought iron hooks. The bedroom, where white linen curtains drift on the evening breeze through windows left open to catch the rain-sweetened air. And this main room, where bookshelves line the walls and soft cushions in faded florals invite contemplation. Claire rises from her chair, bare feet silent on the cool stone floor. She has learned to move differently here, without the urgency that once drove her days in the city. Her movements now match the rhythm of this place, unhurried, intentional, peaceful. She walks to the kitchen and puts the kettle on the old gas stove, the blue flame catching with a soft whoosh that speaks of countless evening rituals. While waiting for the water to boil, she stands at the kitchen window and watches the rain begin in earnest. It starts as a whisper, then grows to a gentle murmur, then settles into the steady, comforting rhythm that will carry through the night. The lavender fields, usually bright purple in daylight, now appear as soft shadows beneath the pewter sky. The rain catches what little light remains, each drop a tiny prism before it joins the earth. The kettle begins its soft song, and Claire reaches for her favorite tea chamomile and honey, herbs grown in the small garden behind the cottage. The elderly woman who owns this place, Madame Dubois, had left behind small treasures like this: dried herbs in glass jars, handwritten labels in her careful script, a lifetime of gentle living distilled into these simple gifts. Claire pours the hot water over the golden flowers in her cup, watching them dance and swirl, releasing their peaceful fragrance into the humid air. The rain has brought coolness, and she wraps herself in a soft wool shawl, cream-colored with tiny lavender flowers embroidered along the edges. Another gift from Madame Dubois, with her tea cradled in both hands. Claire returns to her chair by the window. The warmth of the cup spreads through her palms, up her arms, settling somewhere deep in her chest, where peace seems to gather like morning dew. She takes a slow sip, tasting flowers and sunshine and the peculiar contentment that comes from being exactly where you belong. Outside, the rain has found its rhythm. It patters against the red tiles overhead, runs in tiny rivers down the stone walls, pools in the lavender-lined pathways that wind between the cottage and the fields. The sound is like nature's own lullaby, steady and soothing, a reminder that some things in this world still move at their own perfect pace. Claire remembers her first night here, 3 months ago, when the silence had seemed almost overwhelming after years of city noise. But gradually, she had learned to hear the true sounds of this place, the whisper of wind through lavender stalks, the distant bells of sheep in far meadows, the soft rustle of lizards in the stone walls. Tonight, the rain adds its voice to this quiet symphony. As she sits, Claire feels her breathing naturally synchronize with the rhythm of the rain. In with with the whisper of drops on leaves, out with the gentle tapping on glass. Her heartbeat seems to slow, matching the unhurried pulse of this ancient place. Time here doesn't rush or demand or push, it simply flows, like water finding its way to the sea. Through the rain-streaked window, she can just make out the stone wall that borders the lavender fields. During dry days, lizards sun themselves on these warm stones, and sometimes, at dusk, barn owls perch there, silent and watchful. Tonight, the wall disappears and reappears in the shifting veils of rain, like something from a gentle dream. Claire sets her tea on the small table beside her chair and pulls the shawl more closely around her shoulders. The cottage holds warmth, like a cupped hand holds water carefully, tenderly. The stone walls have absorbed decades of Mediterranean sunshine, and they release it now in gentle waves that seem to embrace her from all sides. She thinks about tomorrow, but softly, without urgency. Perhaps she will wake to clear skies and air washed clean by tonight's rain. Perhaps she will walk the pathways between the lavender rows, sketching the way droplets catch on purple flowers like tiny crystal worlds. Perhaps she will visit the small market in the village, where Monsieur Laurent will greet her with his weathered smile and offer her the ripest tomatoes, the sweetest peaches. But these thoughts come and go, like clouds passing over the moon, present but not pressing, gentle possibilities that float through her mind without demanding attention. This is what she has learned here, that thoughts can exist without weight, that the mind can hold plans as lightly as hands hold dandelion seeds, ready to let them drift away on the next breeze. The rain continues its gentle percussion on the roof, sometimes lighter, sometimes with more purpose, but always with the same essential kindness. Claire imagines the lavender plants receiving this gift, their roots drinking deeply, their flowers brightening for tomorrow's sun. The earth here is ancient and wise, knowing exactly how to receive what the sky offers. In the distance, so faint it might be imagination, comes the sound of thunder, not the sharp crack of a summer storm, but the gentle rumble of clouds conversing with mountains. It rolls across the hills like a contented sigh, adding bass notes to the rain's treble song. Claire smiles, feeling utterly safe in her stone sanctuary, wrapped in wool and peace and the certain knowledge that she is held by something larger than herself. She reaches for her tea again, now cooled to the perfect temperature, and takes another slow sip. The chamomile has steeped to golden perfection, and the honey adds its own sweetness, not overwhelming, but present like a gentle touch on the tongue. She holds the liquid in her mouth for a moment, tasting all its subtle complexities, before swallowing warmth that spreads through her chest like a small sun. The cottage around her seems to pulse gently with its own life. The wooden beams in the ceiling, darkened by decades of wood smoke and contentment, creak occasionally in their ancient rhythms. The stone floor, worn smooth by countless feet, reflects the soft light from the small lamp beside her chair. Even the walls seem to breathe, expanding slightly with warmth, contracting gently with the cool brought by rain. Through another window, Claire can see her small garden, rows of herbs and vegetables that she tends with the careful attention of someone learning to listen to the earth. The basil plants, heavy with summer growth, bow slightly under the rain's gentle weight. The tomato vines, staked and growing tall, seem to shimmer in the half-light. Everything in the garden moves with the rain, a slow dance of growth and acceptance. Claire thinks of her life before the deadlines, the constant connectivity, the feeling that she was always running to catch up with something that stayed just out of reach. That life seems now like something that happened to someone else, or perhaps something she once dreamed but never quite lived. Here, in this moment, with rain painting silver streaks on her window and peace settling over her like a familiar blanket, she cannot imagine any other way of being. The thunder comes again, closer now, but still gentle, like a giant turning over in sleep in the distant mountains. Claire counts the seconds between flash and sound 1, 2, 3, 4, and smiles at this childhood habit that still brings comfort. The storm is moving slowly, in no hurry to arrive or depart, content to announce itself with these soft drum rolls across the hills, as if summoned by the thunder. A small sound comes from the kitchen, the soft plink of water dropping into the ceramic bowl Claire has placed beneath a spot where the ancient roof sometimes weeps in heavy rain. But even this small imperfection feels perfect somehow, part of the cottage's character, its honest admission that it, like all things, yields occasionally to the persistent gentleness of water. Claire closes her eyes and lets herself truly listen to the rain's symphony. There are so many layers, the steady drumming on tiles, the gentle tapping on leaves, the soft gurgle of water finding its way along gutters and down spouts, the almost silent whisper of mist settling on stone. Each sound has its own voice, its own rhythm. Yet together, they create something unified and whole, like a choir where every singer knows their part perfectly. The air in the cottage has grown rich with the scent of rain and lavender, petrichor and chamomile, old stone and fresh herbs. Claire breathes deeply, letting these fragrances fill her completely. There is something about smell that reaches deeper than other senses, touching memories and emotions that live below the surface of conscious thought. Tonight, these scents speak of home, of safety, of a world where everything has its place and time. She opens her eyes to find that full darkness has settled outside, but not the harsh darkness of city nights. This is the soft, welcoming darkness of countryside evening, punctuated by the gentle gleam of rain on leaves, the distant glow of lightning still miles away, the warm yellow light that spills from her own windows onto the wet stone terrace. Claire sets her empty teacup aside and stretches gently in her chair, feeling muscles that have learned to hold less tension, joints that move with greater ease. Her body, too, has learned the rhythms of this place, has remembered how to rest without guilt, how to be still without restlessness. Even her hands, once constantly busy with deadlines and sketches and the urgent business of making a living, now rest calmly in her lap, content to simply be. The rain continues, sometimes swelling to a fuller voice, sometimes quieting to barely more than mist, but always constant, always gentle. Claire imagines it falling on all the countryside around her, on the lavender fields that stretch to the horizon, on the olive groves that checker the hillsides, on the small villages tucked into valleys where lights twinkle like earthbound stars. She thinks of all the people throughout history who have sat as she sits now, listening to rain, feeling peace settle over them like a blessing. The cottage itself has hosted many such evenings, she is sure of this. The chair where she sits has cradled other dreamers, other seekers, other souls learning the art of being present in a single, perfect moment. Time seems to pool around her chair like water in a quiet eddy, unhurried and deep. She has no need to check clocks or schedules, no appointments to keep, except this one with peace itself. The rain will fall as long as it needs to fall. The night will deepen at its own pace. The morning will come when it's ready, bringing whatever gifts it chooses to bring. Claire pulls the shawl up around her neck and lets her head rest against the high back of her chair. Through half-closed eyes, she watches the rivulets of water on the window glass catch and reflect the lamp light, creating patterns that shift and flow like living art. Each drop contains the light of her room, holds it for a moment, then releases it as gravity calls the water downward toward the earth. The distant thunder speaks again, but quieter now, as if the storm is settling into sleep alongside the countryside. The lightning, when it comes, is soft and diffused, illuminating the rain clouds from within, like a gentle lantern held behind white silk. These are not the harsh, dramatic storms of her childhood fears, but something altogether more peaceful weather that whispers rather than shouts, that illuminates rather than startles. In this gentle light, Claire can see the lavender fields taking on an almost ethereal quality. as if they exist somewhere between the waking world and the realm of dreams. The purple flowers, heavy with rain, bow their heads in attitudes of gratitude. The plants themselves seem to shimmer with contentment, drinking deeply from the gift of the sky. She thinks drowsily of painting this scene not with oils or watercolors, but with something softer, more ephemeral, perhaps with pastels that could capture the way mist softens every edge, or with charcoal that could suggest rather than define the way rain transforms the landscape into something more felt than seen. But even as the thought comes, it drifts away without urgency. Some moments are too perfect to capture, too complete to improve upon. The cottage around her seems to settle deeper into the night, like an old dog finding the perfect spot to sleep. The stone walls hold their warmth close. The wooden beams sing their quiet songs. The roof continues its gentle percussion with the rain. Claire feels herself becoming part of this settling, her breathing slowing to match the cottage's own quiet rhythms. Outside, the world continues its patient transformation under the rain's gentle touch. Gardens drink deeply. Streams swell with gratitude. The earth itself seems to sigh with contentment as it receives this blessing from the sky. In the distance, she can imagine sheep huddled together under whatever shelter they can find, their wool darkening with moisture, but their bodies warm and safe. The rain brings with it the scent of 1,000 growing things, herbs and flowers, grasses and trees, all releasing their fragrances into the humid air. Claire breathes these green scents deeply, feeling them settle in her chest like a collection of small prayers, gratitudes offered to the night and the rain and the endless patience of growing things. Her eyelids grow heavy, but she resists sleep for a moment longer, wanting to hold this perfect peace a little while more. The rain continues its lullaby on the roof. The thunder offers its distant reassurances. The cottage embraces her with its ancient warmth. Everything speaks of safety, of continuity, of the deep rightness of quiet moments like this one. Through the window, the lavender fields stretch away into the rain-softened darkness, row upon row of plants that will be there tomorrow and the day after, rooted and patient and content with their simple purpose of growing, blooming, offering their fragrance to the world. There is something profoundly comforting in this continuity, this reminder that some things endure, that some beauties persist despite all the rushing and urgency of modern life. Claire lets her eyes close at last, but she doesn't sleep, not yet. Instead, she floats in that perfect space between waking and dreams, where the rain's rhythm becomes the beating of her own heart, where the cottage's warmth becomes indistinguishable from her own body's contentment, where the peace of this moment expands to fill all of time and space. The shawl around her shoulders feels like a gentle embrace. The chair beneath her, like the most comfortable nest ever woven. Her breathing deepens naturally, matching the slow, steady rhythm of the rain. Each breath brings in the scent of lavender and stone, chamomile and rain, peace and perfect, unhurried time. And still, the rain continues, gentle and persistent, washing the world clean, preparing it for tomorrow's sunshine, singing its quiet song of renewal and rest. In her chair by the window, wrapped in wool and peace, Claire Martin settles deeper into the night, carried by the rain's lullaby toward the gentle country of dreams, where lavender fields stretch endlessly under star-scattered skies, and time moves like honey, sweet and slow and perfect. The cottage breathes around her, holding her safe, while outside the rain continues its ancient, peaceful work. Claire feels herself becoming part of this gentle rhythm, her own heartbeat synchronizing with the steady patter on the tiles above. Time flows like warm honey, each moment dissolving peacefully into the next. She remembers the first morning she woke here, 3 months ago, how the silence had been so complete it felt like being inside a seashell. But gradually, she had learned to hear the true music of this place, the whisper of lavender in morning breezes, the soft murmur of bees in afternoon sunshine, the gentle settling of old stones as they released the day's warmth back to the evening air. Tonight, the rain adds its own verse to this quiet symphony. Claire can distinguish between the different notes, the sharp patter of drops on terracotta tiles, the softer percussion against broad lavender leaves, the almost inaudible whisper of mist settling on stone pathways. Each sound has its own texture, its own rhythm, yet together they weave something whole and comforting. The air in the cottage grows richer as the evening deepens, layered with scents that speak of home and sanctuary. The rain brings the green smell of growing things, the mineral scent of whetstone, the sweet fragrance of lavender released by moisture. Beneath these, Claire can detect the more subtle notes, old wood warmed by generations of fires, dried herbs hanging in the kitchen, the faint vanilla scent of beeswax candles that Madame Dubois used to burn. Claire shifts slightly in her chair, feeling the worn leather conform to her body like an old friend's embrace. This chair has been her constant companion these past months, positioned perfectly to catch the morning light for sketching, the afternoon warmth for reading, and now the evening peace for simply being. She wonders how many other souls have found solace in this same spot, looking out over these same fields, listening to the same ancient rhythms of weather and season. The thunder speaks again, a gentle rumble that seems to come from the earth itself rather than the sky. It rolls across the hills like a contented sigh, causing no alarm, only a deep sense of being held by something vast and benevolent. Claire counts again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and smiles at how the storm moves with such unhurried grace, taking its time to cross the countryside, blessing each valley and hillside with its gentle presence. Through the rain-streaked glass, she can see the small stone terrace where she takes her morning coffee. During sunny days, this space becomes an outdoor room, furnished with a simple wooden table and chairs that Madame Dubois painted the soft blue of the Mediterranean skies. Tonight, the furniture gleams with rainwater, transformed into something more sculptural, more mysterious. The potted herbs, rosemary and thyme, basil and mint bow, under the weight of accumulated moisture, their leaves darkened and glossy. The rain brings back memories of other evening storms she has witnessed here. There was the night in early June when lightning danced across the hills like silver threads being woven through dark fabric. The evening in July when a brief downpour left the air so clear she could see individual cypresses on hillsides miles away. The August night when gentle rain fell while stars still shone, creating a magical atmosphere where heaven and earth seemed to touch. Each storm has been different, yet each has brought this same essential peace. There is something about rain in the countryside that speaks to the deepest parts of human nature, the parts that remember shelter and safety, warmth and welcome, the simple comfort of being dry and warm while water falls softly outside. Tonight's rain carries all these gifts, wrapped in the familiar rhythms that have soothed countless generations. Claire reaches for her teacup again, finding it now empty, but still holding the faint fragrance of chamomile and honey. She holds the cup in both hands, feeling the smooth ceramic, still warm from the tea it held. Even this simple object seems perfect in this moment, its pale yellow glaze catching the lamplight, its familiar weight exactly right in her palms, its gentle curves echoing the soft lines of hills visible through the window. She sets the cup aside and wraps the wool shawl more closely around her shoulders. The fabric is soft from years of gentle use, and it carries the faint scent of lavender from the sachets Madame Dubois tucked into all the linens. The old woman had been like a fairy godmother, leaving behind not just a house, but a way of living slowly, mindfully, with attention to small beauties and quiet pleasures. The cottage around Claire seems to pulse with its own gentle life. She has learned to recognize its sounds, the way certain floorboards creak when the humidity changes, how the old pipes sing soft songs when water runs through them, the particular whisper the wind makes when it finds the gap under the back door. Tonight, the rain adds new notes to this familiar symphony, drumming softly overhead, trickling through gutters, pooling in the stone basins that collect water for the garden. From her kitchen comes the gentle sound of water, dripping into the ceramic bowl. Plip, 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 a rhythm so regular it becomes almost hypnotic. Claire has grown fond of this small imperfection in the cottage's ancient roof. During the day, she empties the bowl and uses the collected rainwater for her plants. At night, the sound becomes part of the cottage's lullaby, as natural and soothing as any melody. The rain continues to transform the landscape outside her windows. What was sharp and bright in afternoon sunshine now becomes soft and dreamlike. The lavender fields blur into impressionist paintings, their purple rose suggested rather than defined. The stone walls that border the property disappear and reappear in veils of mist, like something from a gentle fairy tale. Even the distant hills lose their hard edges, becoming soft suggestions against the pewter sky. Claire thinks of the small village a few kilometers away, where she shops for fresh bread and local cheese, where the postman knows her name and the baker saves her favorite pastries. Tonight, the village will be settling into its own rhythm of rain and rest. Lights will glow warmly behind shuttered windows. Families will gather around dinner tables. Children will fall asleep to the same gentle patter she hears now. There is comfort in this sense of shared peace, of an entire countryside receiving the same blessing of rain and quiet. The light from her small lamp creates a golden circle of warmth in the cottage, but beyond its reach, shadows gather in friendly ways. The bookshelves fade into gentle darkness, their volumes becoming mysterious presences rather than specific titles. The kitchen doorway frames a rectangle of deeper shadow, while moonlight, diffused through rain clouds, creates a pale, ethereal glow at the bedroom threshold. These are not the harsh contrasts of electric lighting, but the subtle gradations of a world lit by older, gentler sources. Claire lets her gaze drift around this beloved space, taking inventory of the small treasures that have made this cottage home. The pottery bowl on the kitchen counter, glazed in blues and yellows that remind her of summer skies. The copper kettle that sings such a sweet song when water comes to boil. The collection of smooth stones she has gathered from walks in the hills, now arranged on the windowsill, like a meditation on texture and time. Each object tells a story of the life she has built here, simple, peaceful, connected to the rhythms of earth and sky. There are her watercolor paints, tubes squeezed and re-squeezed, holding the essence of lavender, purple, and stone gray, sky blue and olive green. Her sketchbooks, pages filled with studies of light on leaves, shadows on walls, the way morning mist rises from the valley below. Her growing collection of pressed flowers, perfect moments of summer preserved between sheets of paper. The rain grows gentler now, settling into the steady, soft rhythm that will carry through the night. It no longer announces itself with individual drops, but becomes instead a continuous whisper like the sound of peace itself made audible. The thunder has moved on, leaving only the memory of its gentle voice in the air. The lightning, too, has faded, but the sky still holds a soft, pearl-like luminescence that speaks of rain clouds full of moonlight. Claire feels her breathing naturally deepen, matching the slow, steady rhythm of the rain. Each breath brings in the rich air of the cottage, layered with lavender and old stone, chamomile and rain-washed earth. Each exhale releases a little more of the tension she didn't even know she was carrying. Her body settles deeper into the chair, her muscles finding their own natural state of rest. Through the window, she can see a few late roses in the garden, their petals heavy with accumulated moisture. Tomorrow, if the sun returns, these flowers will release their rain-collected fragrance in waves of sweetness. But tonight, they simply rest, bowing their heads gracefully, content to receive what the sky offers. There is a lesson in this patient acceptance, this ability to bend without breaking, to receive gifts gracefully. The cottage holds its warmth like a cupped hand holds water carefully, tenderly, generously. The stone walls, thick and solid, have absorbed decades of Mediterranean sunshine, and they release it now in gentle waves that embrace Claire from all sides. Even the floors seem to radiate a subtle warmth, as if the earth itself is sharing its deep, steady heat with this small sanctuary. Claire thinks drowsily of the seasons she has witnessed from this chair. Spring, when the lavender fields were green and promising, dotted with the first shy buds. Early summer, when the purple blooms first appeared, turning the landscape into something from a dream. Midsummer, when the scent was so intense it seemed to shimmer in the heat waves. And now, late summer rain preparing the earth for autumn's gentler gifts. Each season has brought its own magic, its own lessons in patience and beauty. But tonight, listening to rain fall on the cottage that has become her sanctuary, Claire feels she is experiencing something beyond seasonal change, a kind of eternal peace that exists outside of time, a moment that could belong to any century, any era of human seeking and finding. The soft light from her lamp flickers slightly as the wind shifts outside, but the flame settles again quickly, as if even the cottage's electricity has learned the rhythms of peace. The light catches the rain on the windows, creating patterns that shift and flow like living kaleidoscopes. Each droplet becomes a tiny lens, bending and focusing the warm light into miniature rainbows that dance across the walls. Claire pulls the shawl up to her chin and lets her eyes close for a moment, not in sleep, but in pure appreciation of this perfect moment. The rain continues its gentle song. The cottage holds her safe, and somewhere deep in her chest, a knot she didn't know was there finally, completely, peacefully unties itself. When she opens her eyes again, the night seems deeper, richer, more complete. The rain has settled into its steady, nurturing rhythm. The air in the cottage has grown thick with contentment, heavy with the kind of peace that comes only in moments like this, moments when the world reveals its essential kindness, when time stops rushing and simply flows, when the heart remembers what it means to be truly, completely at rest. Outside in the lavender fields, thousands of plants are drinking deeply, their roots drawing sustenance from the rain-blessed earth. Tomorrow, their purple flowers will be brighter, their fragrance more intense, their gift to the world enriched by tonight's gentle blessing. But that is tomorrow's gift. Tonight belongs to this rain, this peace, this perfect moment of being exactly where she belongs. The cottage seems to settle even deeper into the night, like an old friend finding the most comfortable position for sleep. Every beam and stone, every window and door, every familiar creak and whisper becomes part of a larger song of contentment. Claire feels herself becoming part of this settling, her breathing slowing to match the cottage's own quiet rhythms, her heartbeat synchronizing with the steady patter of rain. And still the rain continues, gentle and persistent, washing the world clean, preparing it for tomorrow's sunshine, singing its quiet song of renewal and rest. In her chair, by the window, wrapped in wool and peace, Claire Martin settles deeper into the night, carried by the rain's lullaby toward the gentle country of dreams, where lavender fields stretch endlessly under star-scattered skies, where time moves like honey, sweet and slow and perfect, where every drop of rain is a blessing, every breath is gratitude, and every moment is exactly, completely, peacefully as it should be. And here, dear friend, let yourself drift as gently as rain settling on lavender, as softly as mist rising from warm stone, into the quiet country of your own peaceful sleep, where the rain's lullaby carries you safely through the night, and peace flows like a gentle river through all your dreams. Oh.